Have you heard the story about the murder of the tin peddler? Now, these events took place in the vicinity of Mast Yard, somewhat near the big red barn. Now, as the story goes, there was a tavern and boarding house owned by a Mrs. Becky Foster. Now, the boarding house was frequented by loggers in the area, looking for a place to sleep after a hard day's work, and oftentimes would go to the tavern for something to drink. One day, a tin peddler stopped by the boarding house looking for a place to stay that night. So he got settled in, and he decided to head down to the tavern to have a few drinks. Now, while at the tavern, he was quite boastful to the fact that he had done very well that day, waving and flaunting his money around. Now, upon hearing this, a logger came up with a plan and lured the tin peddler outside. Now, a slight brawl ensued, and the tin peddler was murdered, and then later, beheaded. Now, a few years later, strange sights and sounds were heard from the area. Strange lights and orbs were often seen in the fields. One account tells of a Mrs. Richards, while traveling home by horse and carriage with her father one evening, saw a light in the woods till she could make out the silhouette of a man with a lantern, headless. Upon seeing this headless figure, Miss Richards and her father picked up speed, but the apparition was keeping pace. They reached a small knoll by the town line, and glancing over, it had vanished. Now, another possible source of these headless apparitions took place in the same vicinity. According to 1920s press clippings at the time, an unfortunate accident occurred with a brakeman positioned on top of a rail car. While on top of the rail car, the brakeman had these devices called telltales, which alerted them that a bridge was approaching. The locomotive traveled on. Now, for reasons unknown, the brakeman failed to feel these telltales. The bridge approached. When the locomotive stopped, they noticed the body of the lifeless brakeman on the second rail car. So if you're ever traveling near the big red barn, remember to look off into the fields. And if you hear strange sounds or see strange lights deep within the woods, just remember, make it to the knoll.